So let's get started. So to create a Flutter application, you first navigate to the folder that you want to create that application, and then you open the CMD there. I prefer to use the CMD to create a Flutter application. So I'm gonna come to this link here, and then you can type CMD, and that will open the command prompt. Once the command prompt is opened like that, you can type Flutter create, and then the name of the application. I'm going to call mine to do Firebase YT, and then you press enter. So that should create your application. As you can see now here, we have this project. So I'm going to open this application in Android Studio, but feel free to use VS Code because it works just fine. So with Android Studio, I can now open that project in that particular folder. So here is my application here to do Firebase YT, and I'm going to press on open. So one thing that I like to do, because Android Studio for some reason does not do this automatically, I'm going to open settings. In the settings, I'm going to search on save. There is this part here that says actions on save. I'm going to tap on that, and then I'm going to check this one out. So reformat code, I want to ensure that that is checked, and then click on apply and OK. So that way, when I save on the file, it's going to be auto formatted, and then the application is going to hot reload. And then it's important to try and run the application right now to ensure that everything is set. So I'm using an emulator. So running the application for the first time might take some time, but from there it's quite easy because you just hot reload and you see the changes. So the first thing that I'm going to do is that I'm going to open this min.dat file, and I'm going to clean it out. So let me just start by cleaning out these comments, and then I'm going to delete that. In the title, I'm going to rename this title to do app Firebase. Then I'm going to set debug show checked mode banner to false, and then I'm going to edit my theme data. I'm going to change the seed color to colors.green. I'm also going to change the app bar theme. So app bar theme dot copy width, background color to colors.green, and I'm going to center my title. So center title to true. So to remove these underlinings here, I can convert this to a const app theme like that. And then I'm going to set my bottom navigation bar theme. So bottom navigation bar theme const bottom navigation bar theme data dot copy width. I'm going to set the background color to colors.green, set the selected color to colors.white, and selected item color to colors.black. So for the navigation of this application, I'm going to use GoRouter for navigation. And to do that, let me install GoRouter. So to install the GoRouter package, I'm just going to type flutter pub add GoRouter like that. Sorry, I made a mistake there, like that. And that should add the GoRouter. Alright, so another package that we're going to use is Flutter Riverpod. So I'm just going to add it right now. Flutter pub add flutter underscore Riverpod. So Flutter Riverpod is a package for state management, and I'm going to use it in this application. Again, GoRouter is a package that you don't have to use it with a small application like this. But as I said in the first video, it's important to approach this small application like a big one, so that in case you need to make some changes or add some functionality in the future, you don't have to like start from scratch or something. So we have already added the GoRouter package, and we added the Flutter Riverpod package. I'm going to add Google Fonts. I'm also going to add Riverpod annotation. I will also add the Intel package. I will also add Firebase Auth. So we are going to use this for authentication with Firebase. I will add Firebase Core, and I will also add Cloud Firestore. Alright, after that, I'm going to add two dev dependencies, that is Riverpod generator and the build runner. So to add dev dependencies, so flutter pub add -d, and then you add the package name. So the first one is the build runner, build underscore runner, like that. And as you can see with that, we have this one, the build runner has been added in the dev dependencies. And finally, the one that we are going to add is the Riverpod generator. So once we have added our dependencies, let me just go back. So once we have added all the dependencies, I want to declare all the routes that I'm going to use in this application. So I'm going to create a new folder inside the lib folder, and this folder I'm going to call it routes. And then I'm going to create a new file inside of it, which I'm going to call routes as well. So here I'm going to declare the routes that I'm going to use, but I'm going to use Riverpod to provide these routes to the rest of the application. So I'm going to use at Riverpod GoRouter ref. So what we want is to return GoRouter. So we want to import the Riverpod annotation and also the GoRouter package. Don't know why it is not suggesting for me here, but it should for you. So inside this, so the GoRouter takes the routes, which is a list of routes. It also takes an initial location. Initial location for this, I'm gonna set to /main. All right. So I'm going to also show the debug log diagnostics. All right. And then we are going to get back to it to implement the redirect and refresh listenable, but I'm going to do that a little bit later. So inside the routes, we can create, we can define the routes. So I'm going to create 3 routes here. All right. So the first route is the main. All right. So I'm also going to create another one which I'm gonna call sign in, and another one that I'm gonna call register. All right. So each route can have a name. So all these names, I'm going to define an enum at the top here. So the enum, I'm gonna call it app routes. So the first one is main. We also have sign in, and we have register, like that. So for the name of this one, of the main, I'm gonna call it app routes dot main dot name, like that. The second one, I'm gonna call it app routes dot sign in dot name, and for the third one, name is app routes dot register dot name. So another thing that I should set is the builder. So the builder takes in the context and also the state and returns the widget that should load when we navigate to that route. So for this one, I'm going to call it main screen, like that, and it is eventually going to be a const, right? So for the second one, it also takes a builder, context, and state, which should return a const sign-in screen. And thirdly, this one should also take a builder. So this one should give the register screen, like that. Let me first remove these semicolons and replace them with commas. So we have first of all to create these screens so that we can solve this main error over here. So here I'm going to create a new folder or a package called features. Inside this feature, I'm going to create other folders. So the first folder that I'm going to create is authentication. And the second folder that I'm going to create, I'm going to call it task management. So it's going to be features.task management, like that. So inside this authentication folder, I'm going to use an app architecture that works well with the Riverpod. So this app architecture divides the files of your project to 4 layers, that is application, domain, data, and also the presentation. So presentation is where things to do with state management, widgets, and the screens, they lie in the presentation layer. The domain layer is the models of the application. So the data layer is where Firebase stuff will live in, and also the application layer when you can have code for files and classes that depend on each other. So for the first one, authentication, I'm also going to create other folders here. Again, this might not be quite necessary for a small application like this. But if you plan on adding more features in future for this application, this kind of architecture can be very helpful. So I'm going to create folders here, presentation. So another folder that I said we can have here is domain. We can also have data and application. So every single feature should have these 4 folders. We are not going to use all of them in this small project, but when you are working on a big application like I have done in the past, you find that creating folder in this kind of structure gives you a lot of flexibility and also eases your time when working on the application. So for the sign-in and register, this one should live in the presentation layer of the authentication folder. So for now, I'm just going to close this one. So right here in the presentation, again, we can have folders and other widgets in the same place, but it will be also nice to create another like separation here. So I'm going to call that widgets, and I'm also going to create another package, and this I'm going to call screens. All right, so this is where eventually we can create the sign-in screen, and we can create the register screen here. All right, these screens are going to be consumer stateful widgets. I'm going to call this signing screen. For now, it can just return a scaffold. I'm going to edit this later, but for now we can have a title, which is a text that says sign in, like that. So let me import Flutter Riverpod to eliminate those errors like that. So in the registration screen is also going to be a consumer stateful widget. So we are going to add Riverpod, and also I'm going to import material that, and this I'm going to call it a register screen. Let me create a scaffold with an app bar, which I'm going to give it a title of text register, like that. So inside, so we also need to create another screen, the main screen, and to create that screen is going to live in the task management inside the presentation layer. So inside the screens, I'm going to create a new .dat files, which I'm going to call main screen. So this main screen is going to be a simple stateful widget, which I'm going to call main screen. So import material that to eliminate those errors. And here I'm going to call, I'm going to create a scaffold with an app bar with a title that says main screen, like that. So here in the routes, in the GoRouter, we can now solve these errors by importing the screens that I have just created, like that. We want now to solve this error, and to solve this error, first of all, we need to create part routes.g.dat. Okay, so with that, then you're going to run the build runner command to solve this error. So to do that, I'm going to run this command. So dat run build runner build -delete conflicting outputs. So hit enter. So the first time it can take some time to finish, but we can also run it on watch mode, so that every time we make something that is going to require an action like this, it runs automatically. But for this tutorial, I'm just going to use this one so that we can use it whenever we want. So as you can see, it has just finished. And if you look at the routes folder, we get this new file called routes.g.dat, which has created the GoRouter provider for us that we are going to use. Right, so since we have solved that error, we can now go to the main.dat file. In the material app, we can now say material app.router, and then we can create route config, which we are going to read from the provider. So what we need to do is that now we need to convert this class to a consumer widget, like that. And then to solve this error, we need to add widget ref. So, and to solve this error, we need to import Flutter Riverpod, like that. So since we have converted this to consumer widget, we can now read, you can now like watch the provider, and the provider that you want to watch here is the GoRouter provider. We set the initial location to main, and the main, it should give us the main screen. Before I run the application, as you can see here, it gives me this kind of error. What that means is that inside this my app, since we are using Riverpod, we need to wrap it with another widget called provider scope, like that. And then I'm gonna add the cons like that to format it. Okay, so now I can run this application and it should direct us to the main screen. So let me click on the restart. So once the application is restarted, as you can see now, we are directed to the main screen. So if you can take a look at what we want to accomplish in this application is that, first of all, we want to access the main screen only if we are logged in. If we are not logged in, we want the user to be directed to the sign-in screen. To achieve that, we can go back to GoRouter, okay, here, and then we are going to set redirect, and we are going to set the refresh listenable. So the redirect takes an anonymous function which takes two parameters, the context and the state. So, and we are going to use this state to determine the location of the user and then present them with a different screen depending on whether they are logged in or not. So to find out whether user is logged in or not, I'm going to create a small provider here. So provider, I'm going to call it Firebase out provider, and this is going to return Firebase auth.instance, and I'm going to import Firebase out.dat. So once we have that, we can go to the GoRouter, and here we are gonna create final Firebase auth equals to ref.watch Firebase auth provider. So final is logged in equals to Firebase auth, not current user is not equals to null. So if the user is logged in, and so we are going to check two conditions here. So state.uri.toString. So if this equals to sign in, or state.uri.toString equals to register, then we should return main. So what this means is that if we are in the sign-in page and registration page, and we have successfully signed in or registered, we should be directed to the main page. So else if we are not logged in, and state.uri.toString starts with main, in that case we need to return sign in. So what this one means is that if we are in the main page and we are logged out, then we should be directed to the sign in page, else we should return null. So for this now to work, we need now to implement the refresh listenable. So for that, we are going to create another file. So I'm going to right click on the routes, and I'm going to create a new file which I'm going to call GoRouter refresh stream. So class GoRouter refresh stream extends change notifier, GoRouter refresh stream dynamic. Then we notify listeners. So inside here, we are going to create a variable, a LED final stream subscription, which is of type dynamic, which I'm gonna call subscription. Then inside this constructor, I'm now going to use it. So subscription is equals to stream.as, broadcast stream.listen. This one takes parameter dynamic. It then returns notify listeners. We are gonna override the dispose. So subscription.cancel, like that. So the class that we want to import here, so this change notifier should come from the foundation.dat, not the Cupertino.dat, but foundation.dat, like that. Okay, so once we have this class, we are gonna use it inside the refresh listenable. So GoRouter refresh stream. We are gonna use Firebase auth state changes. We are going to direct our user every time the authentication state changes. So right now we don't have a current user and we are inside the main. So we should automatically be directed to the sign-in screen since we are not logged in. And to prove that, I'm just going to run this application. So trying to run this application, I got this error. So inside here, I'm gonna say widgets flutter binding.ensure initialized.